realize I'm on my phone and there's a lot of noise around me. But I tried to find a place that I could talk. When you're in a busy theme park, this is not so easy to do. Either they're always piping in music, which I cannot record and share on a podcast without getting copyright infringement, or there's people, or there's sound effects or something else. I'm off to the side of the path in Galaxy's Edge, part of Hollywood Studios at Disneyworld. And I'm kind of hanging out a little bit. Instead of going to the park today, I purchased one of these Disney after hours things where I get invited to an event of 3 hours after, and where there's less lines and stuff like that to do stuff. So I'm kind of waiting a little bit. It's about 10 minutes till park close, until the crowds start to thin out, and I can do a few things, see a few rides. But one of the things I like about coming here on my own sometimes is I like the people watch. Just everybody walks by here. Men and women and children and grandparents and all walks of life, all races, all genders, all couples and groups, kids and teenagers, and I mean, it's just, you get all of it, and it's fun to just watch and see how people interact amongst themselves, without being a little too creepy, but just sit and relax and listen in now and then, and you pick up things. When I was a screenwriter, I used to do that to learn dialogue. It was actually a really good way to learn dialogue, was just to listen in to how people talk. It's really hard to teach good dialogue writing for screenwriting and for writing novels and such. We so often write it too stilted. Most writers do, but when you really listen to how people talk, you start to get that flow. And that was a good lesson for me to see what language do people use, and how do they speak, and how do they speak to different people, and how does that change from, somebody they care about to somebody who's a stranger, and how do they respond? I don't know. I think it's interesting. So coming here, part of my fun tonight is just being solo, walking around and listening and watching and enjoying the people, being around people. It's odd that I still feel pretty lonely, as I mentioned in my previous podcast episode, that my buddy had left, and so it's just me now for the next 4 to 5 days. Another day here and then heading home. It could be up to a week before I get home, so it's going to be a while. But it's interesting how you can be surrounded by so many people and still be so alone. I know many of you have experienced that and still do, especially when you're trying to make a connection with people, but everybody's in their own groups and cliques, and also very leery of strangers. So about the only way you start up a conversation sometimes is if you're waiting in line for a ride or something, and you notice something, and I do this sometimes. People walking by closely. Most of them don't know I'm talking to you. This is my phone, so the quality will not be quite what it is with my digital recorder. Maybe I'll take that to the park tomorrow night. But I constantly think it's so interesting how we can be so separated when so many of us are struggling with the same thing. Wanting to belong, wanting to be with someone, wanting success, wanting to leave that legacy, wanting to raise the children healthy. Just wanting a good life, wanting a meaningful life, wanting some pleasure. and wanting it to last. So here I am sitting on this bench, and a recreation of Star Wars, talking to you and sharing my struggles and burdens in life and craziness. I know. I'm a 58-year-old man who plans a trip to Disneyworld. I know. I think that same thing myself. Did I ever grow up? Am I still caught in my childhood? I've heard it all and I understand it. I think maybe it just took me a little bit longer to let go of this than it did the average person. I think most people outgrow their love of childhood things in their 20s, for the most part, sometimes into the 30s. For some reason, the theme park stuck with me until my late 50s. I can't exactly explain why, except I think it was some of the pleasurable times in my youth, some of the less conflict times when both my parents were together and not fighting as much, and my dad was home and not on the road, and we took trips like this sometimes to theme parks, and I think that sticks with me. While we don't have children of our own and haven't brought them here, we have brought 4 of our nieces and nephews here over time. So of 4 of my 6 nieces and nephews we have brought here when they were younger, and so we were able to share that with them, and that was, of course, extra special. I won't keep you very long on this one, and I'll try to get back to my digital recorder for more conversation soon. I'm trying to decide whether I'm heading back tomorrow. I have some anxiety now about the weather. It's a long drive, and also I'm driving an area I'm not familiar with. I've never gone across the Deep South, and so it's just roads I'm not familiar with. There's nothing else except just I haven't done that drive as much, so that's one of the reasons I want to do it. So I'll be leaving here and going through the panhandle of Florida, and then crossing across Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and then work my way into Texas, and then on up probably New Mexico and up Colorado, weather permitting. But with the weather that came through and this big storm system that came through, another one on its way, I'm trying to time my departure just right. I was planning on leaving Friday. It's Wednesday now. But I don't know, I might leave tomorrow, we'll see. I was planning on spending one more day here, and I already paid for the lodging here, so part of me thinks that maybe I just wait that out, so we'll see what happens. Well, it is now 9 o'clock. It is time for park closing, which means only those of us that have paid for the evening hours and didn't pay for the day can now go ride some rides, and I'm gonna do that. If I get a chance, I'll check back in with you again. Maybe I'll do that when I get back to the hotel later tonight, when I can speak a little more freely and not have too much complication with, people and music and sounds and odd stares and all that stuff. Talk soon.
Hey, this is Dee. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out our podcast. I do need to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational purposes only and should never be considered medical, psychological, or professional health advice of any kind. If you or someone you know is dealing with significant mental health issues, please seek professional help. Resources can be found in our show notes and on our website at unevenpodcast.com. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the flip side.